I know we did a video recently about what we're expecting from Games Workshop in 2025. And then they blew us all away with a pretty insane...
Great preview. Wonderful preview. Excellent preview.
So a couple of Patreon members asked if we would do one about everything else. The dregs, what's left, the other people, the other guys.
The rest of our
The other guys, Will Ferrell.
That's right. Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can't see, but on the other side of this case is where games go to die, and I don't know. I just assume we're clearing that space for more Games Workshop or whatever.
Is that your thesis for this video? 2025, the year we add to the graveyard. Man, that's dark. That's dark.
It's a little dark. No, but seriously.
Okay, well, let's start ringing them off because and we'll start with the main. We'll start with the ones we carry, and then we'll try to go outside to the mainstream ones.
Okay.
So let's go with one of our classic cult favorites, Corvus Belli. What do you expect out of Corvus Belli in 2025? If they can ever release the new edition of Infinity.
Isn't it out now?
No, it's delayed. Still.
The Sand Trap is here.
Sand Trap is here. You just can't play.
First of all, got to get better with the names. You can't say what's the same?
It's a trap made of sand.
Anyway, Corvus Belli. No, Corvus Belli is they're a bit like Games Workshop in that they've kind of been riding a pretty the same script structure year after year, and it works, I guess. So
be consistent.
More. I don't know. They'll probably do another Kickstarter. They seem to do those every year for some of their things. They'll probably do another. They do kind of like Games Workshop does. They're like almost, I don't want to call them, I don't know if they're campaigns, but they kind of like pick a setting and they release a 2-player box that goes with the setting or something like that. And they do a little reshuffle on their different factions. I know they've been continuously tweaking how that looks. I heard there was one of my Infinity players were explaining to me that it sounds like they're kind of like the sectorial thing, which if you're not familiar, basically is like sub factions. We normally when you'd play, you could play like vanilla, which meant you could pick from the entire model range of your whatever faction you chose, and then there was like sub factions that narrowed the model pool down and themed things. And it sounds like they want to drive people more into theming their armies. So, like, if you go the vanilla route, you actually don't get the whole roster. You get, like, a really basic one. And
I like that.
So,
I like that.
It kind of silos
Finally
people.
Giving some people some, like, real tangible benefits.
I think that's...
Instead of, like, just kind of like, oh, you can really theme your list, and then you get a shorter list of models to choose from.
So, anyway, I think they'll continue to do reboxings and play around with how they deal with their SKUs and etc. I don't know if the Code 1 thing is still a thing.
No, Code 1's done.
Done.
Yeah.
So, I'm not really anticipating anything other than what they've been doing. They're kind of... They actually sent us... there was an email today or something that basically said, apparently, Warcrow's doing, which will segue, better than they thought. Like, they can't keep up, so to speak.
Well, I really liked their strategy for Warcrow, actually. I think it was, like, really smart to not go huge in the beginning. Mm-hmm. It's to trickle it out, because they've done something that, like, other companies, either they've done this accidentally, I don't want to give them credit here and say they didn't. They learned from how other small companies released secondary games. Mm-hmm. And what often would happen is they would release a second game, and the second game would take all their bandwidth for a period of time, and they would really neglect the product that was actually their pillar product.
Talking about Atomic Mass.
No. I was thinking Malifaux, but like we can also slam them too. But yeah, Atomic Mass really has done a bad job of that. Specifically, like
what's a Malifaux anyway? Why are we even talking about this?
Like Marvel got like nothing for months.
Yeah.
Legion, I think, didn't get anything for like 13 months or so. It was like insane.
Yeah.
It's like you can't build your company. I mean, especially for Corvus Belli, right? Like their company is Infinity.
Yep.
For now. It is Infinity, and that probably scares them a little bit, but like, it's why they're very consistent with it. It's why they are very careful with it. It's their flagship product. And the beautiful thing they've done with Warcrow is like, it's just additional things on top of what they already release. So they have their 4 to 6 releases a month for Infinity. Mm-hmm. That's stayed consistent for the last 3 months since they've released Warcrow. And now they're just releasing 1 to 2 extra things for Warcrow. And Yeah, I mean, like, it was not a bang of a release, but people have been nibbling on it, and I think that's the healthy thing. And I think they're going to slowly release new factions next year, and we're going to hopefully see like a really good slow growth to the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's other good strategies too by not revealing and shoving too much out. So there's a couple of things. One, it probably it creates the growth curve is slower, but then you don't have people sometimes what happens is that you get like certain factions and products if they release too much at once that are more popular than the other ones, and then they sell out and the others sit, and there's kind of like if you just offer if you only offered like two things in the beginning and that's the way it is for a little while, people, if they're interested, they'll just kind of jump in. They'll eventually I'll give this a go.
Yeah.
And then as new cool stuff comes out, they'll just kind of it's built for more longevity rather than I'll just blast it out and see what happens. So I agree. I think that's done well. So yeah, to wrap that up, they're going to continue doing what they do.
And even if Warcraft Crow failed, I don't think it would actually have really hurt them. You know?
No, they do everything like it's like very prudent. You know, they're like they've got
in-house.
They have a diverse. You know, they're trying to diversify their portfolio of products and. Make sure everything's done right and feasibly and this and then even their little Kickstarter ventures are like they're not just a Kickstarter company. They usually are tie-ins to their Infinity game, or they release models similar. They did things where they would do a bunch of Infinity models and then they would do alternate sculpts of those for the retail release. So there's an interesting thing where the Kickstarter guy could get a bunch at a good price, but then if you want these alternate sculpts in different ones
that are better quality,
they're
not board game plastic.
They're not board game plastic. You could still it was kind of good anyway.
Yeah.
So what else? So then we might as well go into the Atomic Mass stuff we have. I guess more Marvel probably. I hope.
Yeah. So they've got a bunch of stuff scheduled to come out. Like you've got some more Guardians of the Galaxy. You've got some Midnight Sun stuff coming. You've got some big characters like Phoenix allegedly coming soon, which will be cool. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely slowing down. Because you're not getting compared to a couple years ago, they would put out maybe a couple kits a month.
Yeah.
Marvel, you get maybe 1 or 2 kits a month, and sometimes nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's more of a trickle now. It's less consistent. I think that's the big difference. I think, right? This is one really big strong case for vertical integration. As much as it has a lot of drawbacks. For those of you who are familiar with that term, it's when you basically have control over every aspect of your production, and you make everything to the point where you're selling it essentially. So you do everything vertically in-house. So Corvus Belli is able to manage their supply line and when things come out a lot more efficiently than someone like Atomic Mass, because they're not reliant on the Chinese companies to print their stuff and send it over and the shipping and all the stuff that can happen. I think that the knock-on effect with a miniature game is nobody, even me, someone who runs a business, I have to go and check constantly to see what's coming up and when the dates, because they change, and there's just not this consistent expectation. People that collect Infinity can come in at the end of every month and be there's going to be something new on the shelf.
Yep.
And that's basically a guaranteed expectation, right? And Games Workshop, every week you come into the shop, there's something new, right? What's the expectation with Atomic Mass? It can show up sometime. There's usually a date, but it's not the same date everywhere, and it changes, and so I think that's kind of part of the problem. People have are just kind of generally confused about if you're a Marvel player, you're not there's not this consistent sort of thing that you can get used to. You're just kind of buying your time. So it is a hard game, I think, to attach yourself fully to.
Yeah.
So I find a lot of people that collect Marvel and stuff like that, it's more of a side, it's a side hustle. It's a side girlfriend, it's they're, it's the side thing. They kind of flirt with it because there's not as much coming out. I don't know.
I mean, what's interesting about this game is it has actually a lot. It has over 100 box kits now.
SKUs now, yeah.
So there's a lot to and collect there.
About a third of them are perma out of stock too, which that's another problem.
Yeah.
So you get characters that become popular for whatever reason, and the other day I'm like talking to a couple guys and they want certain characters. And I'm like, well, they're out of stock. They've been out of stock for probably 4 months, and it might be 4 more months before we see them again, or not at all. I don't know. Like
I don't know.
It's there's this weird sort of like
I feel like they aren't doing enough to harness what they already have. So I don't know if that means more. I don't know, more narrative products or card packs. I don't know. Like it's something about that is missing.
It's a good point, and I think that's probably there's so much of this like focus on new releases all the time. It's sometimes you can kind of forget that like Games Workshop's selling the same like Intercessor box every week. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's a healthy part of their business model. That like they can sell the same Space Marine Combat Patrol, the Tau Combat Patrol, and those models aren't new anymore, and they haven't been new for years. But they're still exciting products, and they still focus on that, right? Mm-hmm. So like how can a company like Atomic Mass keep that excitement, that focus on like the core range of their products, right? Like,
well, here's something that I don't believe they do very well, and maybe this is, I know it's a feature of their game, which is to like mix and match whatever you want, and there are some synergies, but like Games Workshop's giving away, they're posting up free official rules detachments for every 40k army every day. It's their advent calendar thing.
Yeah.
So like tomorrow it's like, here's a new way to play your custodes. And you're like, oh, cool, this looks great, and it's like official rules and whatever, and that might literally spur you to come in and buy extra boxes of something, because now, so like, I feel like that is one way. Again, maybe I'm out to lunch or whatever because I don't play the game to really understand like fully like whether this is feasible, but like, this could be, if you take these 6 X-Men or whatever it is, 4 X-Men, they all get this new rule or something. Mm-hmm. And so there's your incentive to go to I have 3 of these 4. Maybe I need to go buy the extra box.
Yeah.
So that I can get this cool whatever, because it's from a comic narrative that that they picked out of somewhere or an episode of the show, or I don't know, right? Like, I don't see any of that.
They feel feel very under-resourced, I think. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think
they don't release. They could release a book too that even does.
They could have a book.
Like, it's like a. Here's a whole, what do you call these things? Saga of something from the comics. Buy the book, and it features all the minis we make, and then it's a series of missions to go through this, like, story that, like it's like, oh my god.
Yeah. You could even design it like a comic book.
You could sell it. You could sell it for like $40 really or something. People would buy it. Like if it's got cool new rules in it, people will buy it. Like it's not even anyway. So
I think that's an interesting thing we kind of stumbled on there. I think like how do you find new exciting ways to resell existing products instead of just always being dependent on what's coming up next, right? I think they're very. Atomic Mass has that problem where like people are really only concerned with what's coming up next, right? Like, it's like what's the new hot thing?
So the kind of real question, what to expect from them next year? I don't know, but there is what do you call it? I don't know. People that know more than me have suggested that it's a resource problem.
Yeah,
they are hamstrung with like the resources they have, and they have to manage 3 games right now, and they have to have at least 3 games. At least 3 games, because then they cut they cut X-Wing and Armada from their like what they have to make stuff for. Yeah. And maybe it's just not enough to go around, and so they're just kind of like breakneck, choosing, So I really don't know what to expect. I mean, obviously there's going to be they already have a pipe, I'm sure, of Legion, Shatterpoint, and Marvel releases that'll continue. And some of them will be exciting, I'm sure, but I don't expect much different from them as well. I don't expect any like really.
Do you think it's going to be do you think it's going to be a down year for them, or do you think it's going to be?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one to call.
I feel like they're just the new normal is not what it was before, and they're either in a panic right now or have been in a panic to try and figure out. Because I mean, again, this is purely just where we are. We have been slamming them a bit, a little bit. In the last like 6 months, because we feel like there's not enough going on, but it's not just us; it's all our like all the stores that we can think of within 100 miles have all been like liquidating bits and pieces, and some of the games. I feel like Marvel still has some good presence, but definitely the Star Wars Legion has been losing traction massively in this region, which is alarming, I think. So, yeah.
Shatterpoint never really got going. That's kind of, like it. Yeah.
At
least that's how it feels.
It is how it feels.
Locally,
Yeah. Shatterpoint
could be wrong.
Brilliant looking product.
Really is, yeah.
There's a lot of, the feedback I get from people is that there's not enough
interesting ways to play it.
Yes. Yeah. It's just kind of one mode.
Yeah.
So again, that would suggest stress and resources that they haven't been able to go back around and find ways to add more to the game in that sense, other than
here's
the
a company
they committed to.
Here's a company that really should be diving a bit more. And this, I've criticized Games Workshop for this time and time again, but how is there not more solo play stuff for this stuff?
Yeah,
talk about two games that are designed for small kitchen table already. How do you not have like a Marvel single player mode, like a solo play mode? Like that would, I think, personally do really well.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
I think maybe with some of the Ultimate Encounters you can do it, but like there's just not enough stuff there. Like there's not enough, like you said, like a whole book of things to do with all. Like you have a whole range of 100 SKUs.
Yeah.
Make a book with a solo play book where like you could just like have scenarios with these models. You're basically creating a collecting list for people that are like into painting the miniatures.
Yeah.
And they can just play through it at home by themselves if they want to. Solo play stuff is so huge. It is, and so undertapped into in the big miniature company world. In the indie world, it's like a pretty common thing.
Yeah.
But I think they have a better understanding of that. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see that in 2025. Some of these companies start to take that seriously.
So where else do we carry that's not working?
Well,
BattleTech and
I think like
D&D minis and
BattleTech is exciting because you have the finally coming out. I think they're a little delayed. They were supposed to come out late this year, but finally all the ground asset stuff is going to finally hit BattleTech. That was kickstarted a while back. So I think 2025 is going to be a nice year for BattleTech because they're going to sell the crap out of like infantry, tanks, helicopters, all the fun stuff, and that's going to add a whole new element to the gaming, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I think we summed that up. We can probably move on.
It's nothing. It's just good.
BattleTech's healthy. It's doing well.
Another thing that
I think
has like
BattleTech's real problem is more like 2027, 2028 when you're like, what do we sell next?
What do we do now? Yeah.
Like the problem with any company is like eventually when you kind of run out of things to redo. So and maybe. And I don't know enough about the intellectual property to be like, this is the beauty of 40K and fantasy games. Is like you could just create new factions. Can they do that in BattleTech? Can they create new lore? Will that be okay with the people playing it?
Yeah.
They're going to need to do that to make new things at some point, I imagine. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll just turn into a whole... Like, this is the historical game problem.
Right.
Which is like, maybe we're going to probably talk about in another video pretty soon, is like why they struggle to sell things sometimes is you can't create... new things because it's a history game. Yeah. So you kind of sometimes run out of French World War I soldiers to make or like whatever.
Yes, sir.
So
yeah. So what I guess if we can even come up with anything for this last bit is
well, there's more companies still.
No, I know. That's what I'm getting to. Yeah.
I think
all the stuff.
I'm gonna just. I think Battlefront Miniatures is in trouble.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I
mean,
they're. I feel like they've lost again, biased based on the region we're in.
Yeah.
It seems like all of those people, the historical gamers, which there's many of, they've all moved to bolt action. Bolt action is having a massive.
Bolt action is on the grow for sure. They just had their new rules come out.
Yep.
And they seem a little bit on the up and up. They're. Like just visually, they're in way more stores. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And I don't know if that's just because they're doing a better job on the sales side of things. Kind of calling up. I think that if you're a small company like that, you have to be, the classic like knock on door salesman kind of guy where you're like, you really have to sell yourself to people because like there's not a lot of space out there for new games and. Companies are like, what's in it for me? Like stores are just like, I don't have so much money to spend on these things, and so it's tough, right?
Yep.
But yeah, so it does seem like Warlord's kind of, able to like, they have their mainstay game bolt action that people seem to really like, and it's kind of on the up and up, and then you have like they're very wide as well. Like they have a bunch of these like little games. Like they seem to have a pretty good idea.
They offer a lot.
They have to be making new stuff all the time.
Yep.
and offering new things.
They have a nice wide arrangement, which means they're all kind of firing a little bit, and money's coming in no matter what. Yeah,
exactly.
And if you're a Warlord, like you could be a Warlord store if you wanted to.
Kind of,
You could like fill your store with those games and products.
Well, I know there's a shop in Hamilton that like has a ton of their stuff.
Yeah,
and like it's probably a decent size of their business, right?
Yeah.
But so
it's a thing.
Historicals, yeah. So like one company seems to be trending up, the other one seems to be dipping a little bit. I don't know if they're in trouble, but like I have to say, Team Yankee was a big deal for them, and I think it's like that has like a catch-22 thing like attached to it, which is like the more kind of like real conflicts are going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The more it like really is off-putting to play a game like that.
Could be, yeah.
You know, because like World War II is a like I don't want to say it's detached enough, but it is detached enough from like current era where like there's obviously some real stuff going on there, but like the tanks don't look the same as now. The infantry looks different. Like it's just a different. It almost seems like a different universe to a degree, right? But like when you're playing with like the same tanks almost as what is out there right now with the same like forces and armies, like it's. Yeah, I think
it's a little
I think it works against them a little bit.
It does
for sure.
It's probably not doing well. Yeah,
I don't think the IDF Defense Force is selling very very hot right now.
Not here it isn't, that's for sure.
So not to get spicy, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Who else is out there? We're in garbage time now, so we can go to garbage. Like more
it's been garbage.
Well, let's hit quickly on like Conquest Parabellum. What is the Kings of War? All these like little like fantasy companies. Mantic Games.
I'm sure they have areas that they do well in. I don't know.
They seem to just be trucking along.
They keep making stuff. Yeah. Mantic and Warlord in my head are kind of similar. They just
Mantic does
make.
Does sort of they're pretty funny because like not taking anything away from anyone who likes their stuff, but like they're like this like little bratty cousin of Games Workshop that like everything they do they're like, well, I'm gonna do that too, and you'll see because like they they put out like because the Imperials came out and did really well, they're like, oh, we're gonna put out our own epic game now, and that sort of thing. So they'll always do well because of that, because they're just kind of following along, and their business model is basically like, we make something that's like objectively like not as high quality, like you can just kind of say that by the sculpt quality, but it's got like its own look to it. But it's much cheaper. Like it's like the discounted Warhammer sort of thing, right?
They want to say that they're like we're Warhammer the way it used to be. Right. That's their whole company basically.
But Warhammer's the Warhammer the way it used to be.
I mean, look, I'm sure they could. They're still trying to come up with their first Space Marine that'll, build the company. I think that ship sailed. But and then the games like Conquest and Song of Ice and Fire, they're going to keep. I mean, Conquest, as far as I've seen, has not penetrated the market here super well. Like, I don't know. There's probably a couple stores that have some.
Yeah, there's a handful of shops. I think Old World, obviously, like no one can look me in the eye and tell me Old World hasn't taken a dent out of that, right? Like, you're gonna have your diehard people that are like, no, I really like this. It's like, but you liked that because it was like the thing that is now available again. It's inevitably gonna. I think those games are gonna inevitably suffer over time, like attrition.
I've got to sprinkle a tiny bit of Old World content because
Old World.
There's the phone. I was genuinely surprised how many people pulled their Warhammer out of the closet or whatever it was, like for when that game launched or came back. Like I was like, wow, like everyone, not everyone burned their armies. They just put it in storage. They don't sell their armies, like a surprising amount. So like you said. They were just waiting, and then as soon as Jim said it's okay again, then I could just see the guy like literally like taking his Conquest and just putting it in a bin and just like taking the old piles of.
Yeah, no, that's like fair. That probably happened, but I think the more dangerous thing, and this is when you'll start to see it this year, I think, is not that people stopped playing Conquest or stopped playing Kings of War, because they probably grew to like the games a lot. Right?
Yeah.
It's that when you're a new person entering the field, instead of having only 2 options, you now have Old Worlds as a 3rd option.
Yeah.
So where's the new
3rd option
going?
has a massive video game that does
massive video game. It has I don't know 3,000 LGSs in North America.
Yeah.
Selling their products.
Yeah.
Like it's a powerhouse, right?
It's
like
power.
so.
Yeah.
I mean that's the challenge there. How do you overcome that?
It is. Yeah.
In a market that like traditionally was pretty small, anyways.
Yeah.
Right. Like let's not forget that. That there's a reason why Fantasy Battles failed in the first place. It's not as big of a market as people think, right?
It doesn't have to be a big player. It's not a big deal anymore.
Now we are leaving something out here that even though we're well past our time on this video,
super far,
which, is how is Trench Crusade going to do in 2025? Had to get.
We got to sprinkle it in every video. I don't know. It's going to deliver or something, isn't it? Doing whatever.
Yeah.
We got to mark. What is this? December the 12th or something? I guess we'll find out a year from now. Is it going to be?
No. Someone sent me a screen cap of one of the creators, Thomas or whatever, who said their plans are to get into retail eventually. So
sweet.
Let's go.
Yeah. People.
To be continued.
That's gonna be a big episode.
To be continued.
We were wrong or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, we were wrong. You're gonna have to read.
Look, if I get 12,000 views again, I'll be like, let's go. Or people don't know if I actually sell. I can put a book. You want me to put a book on the wall? I'll put a book on the wall. Trench Crusade.
Hell yeah,
sure, I'll sell a book for you.
Nice hardback book. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll do it for you, Trench Crusade. I'll do it for you. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you like this kind of video. If we forgot anybody, we're sorry. We're just trying to talk mostly about
It's not because you don't matter.
The retail products, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. Anyway, see you. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.